Hey, this is Jim with Jimmy Rigs, and today I'm going to show you my rig in its current iteration. Few things to keep in mind. This is my setup for my home studio. This is also my setup for when I play live at church on the weekends. So, first things first, I run a wet, dry, wet rig. What's wet, dry, wet? Wet, dry, wet involves having at least 3 sources of sound that's being recorded or going out to front of house. The first thing is usually your dry signal, some kind of dry version of your amp or whatever it is, and then the wet and wet stands for your stereo effects separate from your dry effects. So the way that I do that is via my RJM PBC10 and a Two Notes Captor X. This is how it's set up. Guitar goes into pedal board goes into amp goes into a Two Notes Captor, which also acts as a speaker through connection. So amp goes to Captor X, the Captor X goes to a cabinet in my studio. It's in the corner. At church on the weekends, we have a closet on side of stage that we use for my cab. Both my setup here and my setup at church involves a 12-inch G12H speaker, which is, greenback-ish. And then after that, the captor sends a signal out of one of its line outputs that goes back into my pedal board, and then that goes direct front house for my wet sounds. The reason I do that is after talking to our sound guy, he wanted to experiment with something, I wanted to experiment with something, and my goal in all of it was I wanted to give them more control over the feel of everything. Where he can control the wet blend, the mic blend. So at church we use a Shure SM57 and a Royer 121. Here at home I use a Royer R10 and an SM57. And both mic blends are pretty similar from how it is here to how it is at church. So what you're going to hear in this video is going to be pretty comparable. All that out of the way. This is my matchless Clubman. I've had this amp for, probably on and off about 12 years, technically. There was a few years where I did not have it, but I was able to find it. Thank you, Facebook Marketplace, and picked it up and have not regretted it ever since. One of my favorite sounding amps. As you can see, guitar is going into the high input, which brings up the gain sensitivity, and that sounds like this. You can also hear some of the effects, which I'll turn off. That's my bass starting point sound. Kind of dirty, kind of gritty. But it's very dynamic. So guitar is up all the way. Sounds like that. Bring the guitar down to about 7.5. Neck pickup, same. It just gives me a really good starting point. I've tried setting it cleaner, and this is where the magic lives for me. Volume is at about 11 o'clock. Bass is at about 10 o'clock. Treble's at noon. Brilliance is at noon. Master volume is up all the way, like it should. And my spring reverb, it could be at 9 o'clock. It's a good sounding spring reverb. Only reason I don't use this a whole ton is because it's kind of noisy. So, you get a little bit of hum whenever I turn it up all the way. So I usually will keep it off and then have all my effects be afterwards. So starting off with my pedals, first pedal and chain is a Maxon CP9. or a CP9 Pro Plus, I think is the right model. I have it set just loud. I don't really use it a whole ton as on the front end of any kind of dirty sounds. I just prefer to keep it on for more sparkly, clean things. Like that with the chorus. That's how we normally run it. After that, I have it going into the Exotic Effects RC Booster, which is set like this. So not a crazy difference in volume, just a little bit more. So here's without it. With. Just more. What I like about the RC Booster is that it gives me just a little bit of, a little bit of what I already like about the Clubman. So in the bridge, I already get a little bit of grit. In the neck, I get a little bit more throaty. Like that. I also like to blend the RC Booster with other drive pedals. So the next drive pedal in that chain is the King of Tone, which I have set to be a little bit more saturated. So the way that my overdrive section is going in order is typically clean to dirtiest. I don't have anything crazy dirty, but I do want it to increase in saturation just a little bit, as well as increase in mid-range. So the RC Booster is pretty flat. The King of Tone is known to be a little bit more of a transparent overdrive, so this is what the King of Tone sounds like. Like that. After the King of Tone, I have the Klon KTR, which you'll see is a little bit more saturated, a little bit more mid-forward in terms of having a more pointed mid-range. What I like about the KTR is it just kind of barks. Like that. After the KTR, I have the Cascade Effects Hostortion, which is it's kind of a clone of the Ibanez Mostortion, which is one of my favorite overdrive pedals. This is less saturated than the rest, but the clipping structure and the clipping style of the pedal has it sounding a little smoother. So this is what the Hostortion sounds like. It's actually not that much dirtier than the RC Booster. So here's the RC Booster. Here's the Hostortion. So the Hall distortion is a little bit more mellower in the upper end, the high part of the mid range, whereas the RC booster is boosting a little bit more flat. That's because I have a cut on the high end of the Hall distortion, and so. Now because of that, the way the Hall distortion is set up, it tends to take the input of all the other pedals really, really well. So here's the Hall distortion with the RC booster. Kind of going for like a faux dumble, not quite, but just something that's, saturated, compressed, but not super gainy. Love that. Also, the Hall distortion takes things like the King of Tone and the KTR really well. So here's the Hall distortion with the King of Tone. Love that. Here's the Hall distortion with the KTR. So even more saturated. It works great for lead. Has some good chunk to it. If I want to go that. Then lastly, for an all-out lead fest, King of Tone, KTR, and the Hall distortion is really where it's at. Fluid, saturated, it's great. Love it. After that, chorus. I use the Walrus Audio M1 for chorus. Sounds great, and I love it. I have a Julia. Only reason I switched to the M1 is because I want a MIDI control, because I still like using vibrato sounds. So. As well as lately I've been getting back into phaser, so. I think it's great. Back to chorus. That's pretty much it, so. Anyway, so now that's the walkthrough of all of the first, input. Gosh. That's the end of the pedals that go into the front of the amp. Now, for the pedals that go after the amp, coming after the captor, I have a Meris Hedra, which I use mostly for a pitch shifted detune type sound. I can also use it as a, multi-tap delay, which would be, let me see. If I want to, but generally speaking, that's generally where it lives. I'm gonna turn it up just a little bit, so that's a little better of an example. Anyway, after that I have the Strymon Volante, which is tape delay. That's it set as a data delay. Let me turn that up just a little bit so I can hear it better. Sounds great. I also have some settings for it to do more of a ping pong thing, such as so that's cool. After the Volante, I have a Strymon Night Sky, which I have set for a pretty big plate sound. Love that. After that, I have the Maris Mercury 7, which lately I've been using more for a bright plate or maybe a bright room sound. So remember, because I have them running through the RJM's parallel mixer, there's no interaction with them, so I can kind of treat it like have all these sounds all coming out all at once, and I can blend them however I want. Another example of how I might use the Mercury 7. That's a bright room. That actually sounds pretty good on drums. So I might, route signal out of my DAW going into the pedal board because I can receive the line level input, and use that as an insert for a snare reverb. That's an option, right? I could also have it be a lot bigger of a reverb. That's an octave reverb. Things like that. Weird options, whatever. So, what's an average sound that I might use on any given week or weekend? It is most likely going to be the Volante with a quarter note or dotted eighth delay, the Strymon Night Sky in that first setting that I showed you, and it's usually going to be the RC booster and the Distortion. So this is what that sounds like. Another idea of a sound would be compression, chorus, probably that kind of ping pong delay. And this would be like me trying to sound like Mike Landau. Add in that detune. be another option of a sound. One of my favorite sounds is actually this. I call it on the RJM. The preset is called Vibes Boy, and that sounds like this. Let's see if I can find it. There, and then that's gonna be there. That would be something like this. I have it set for I can be kind of dirty or I can be kind of clean, but it's a vibrato sound. Hold on. It's a vibrato sound, right? With a really long filter sweeping reverb from the night sky. I like using that on the intro to the song Homecoming. Yeah, something like that. Or really anything that requires a lot of extra movement. The cool part about the wet, dry, wet setup is that if the sound guy's feeling it and he wants to make something special out of just those effects, you can just take my dry guitar down and call it a day. So this would be an example of maybe like a lead tone that I would use on a song. Let's see. No, maybe more like. Yeah. Anyway, that's the rig. Like I said, Strat, matchless, pedal board, Captor, 57 and a Royer, and that's basically it. I'm really happy with the setup. It's given me a lot of inspiration in terms of how I play on the weekends. Playing a lot more, which has been a little bit more rewarding to me instead of just kind of playing parts and parts and parts. I feel more inspired to create. So anyway, that's the rig. If you like the video, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Take it easy.